Hi, I'm Zach, computer science major at Bree College, spring 2023 graduate. So now here's a problem. Have you ever wanted to basically just not hear somebody, and if they're talking to you, you just want them to shut up and drown them out? Well, I've created an application that does just that. So let's take a look. So, introducing the Too Loudifier. It's an app that basically plays music ever so slightly too loud, louder than you want, and the idea is you enter in a YouTube video, could be anything, could be music, and the louder that you speak into a microphone, the louder that the volume gets, to the point where you are drowned out. So let's take a look. So we're going to test this two ways. The first test is going to be with this microphone. The second one's going to be using OBS Studio just as a screen capture. It just changes the different volumes from the input of the microphone and blinds it basically to the loudness of the YouTube video. Okay, so now we're going to test with OBS Studio to see what exactly the sound is going to sound like coming from, for example, your computer. And let's give it a shot. So we're going to hit start. It's basically going to be the same configurations as before. You hear nothing. And now we're starting to hear something. And then the louder you get, you can see, the louder that it gets. So all of this is actually available on GitHub. That's github.com/ZachNeil/2-Loudifier. So let's get into the code. All of this was created with Angular 15. It's a framework, a front-end framework that really helps. Does a lot of cool stuff for you. And you can make custom HTML tags. For example, as you can see here, YouTube-player. So this is something that's actually really new to Angular. And it basically creates an iframe for YouTube to be played within your browser. So all it requires is this video ID. The video ID is basically, if we can take a look here, this represents in the URL what we had seen earlier with Come and Get Your Love. So that's basically that video. You input the video and it'll play it. Now, once you enter in the link, that takes us to, you hit the start button. Once you hit the start button, it calls this function start with the input value being the URL. So let's go to this function. What happens? First thing, it basically takes the URL, splits it down into the ID that we mentioned earlier. And here's something that's required. The YouTube API needs to be loaded in after. You can't put it in HTML at the bottom like you will see in a live web pages. It has to be thrown in manually. So that's just all that does here. So once this code is run, that's when we basically wait for the YouTube player to be ready to rumble. And once it is, this built-in ready function from YouTube player is run, and I've got it bound to onReady, this onReady function. And what it does is it basically plays the video, sets the volume, and here's a lot of the work. Is basically every 35 milliseconds this code runs. And what does it do? So we have this variable bikevol, which comes from a result of if it's not paused, we get this.get microphone volume. And that is, a lot of that is this analyzer here, which basically it gets the data coming in from the microphone and condenses it down to a series of 256 data values. And what we have here is basically converting it from 256 data values into, and this constant is usually 0.4, that's how I have it set. Condenses it down to 0 to 100 because the YouTube's volume goes from 0 to 100. So that's kind of like our equation that really does a lot of it. So it's in the return statement. So basically mic volume becomes that, and then the player, we have .set volume that's just built in. It sets the volume to what we have here. So that's for the most part everything, and the constructor function basically just allows us to access the microphone in the first place. It just sets everything up. And yeah, so we've got this HTML file and TypeScript file. There's a little bit of SCSS, which is kind of like CSS, but a little more high powered. It wasn't really necessary. So, and the rest of this, you know, is basically just kind of some fluff. But our main component functionality is just these two files. And yeah, hope you liked it.